Good evening. Newly leaked photos from a migrant detention facility has shed light on the terrible conditions that children are being kept in. Now, over in Michigan, the owner of a pizzeria has just been arrested for defying the governor's pandemic orders. This business owner said that those orders reminded her of the communist system that she fled in Poland. Meanwhile, the Royal Caribbean has announced that their passengers have to be vaccinated in order to go on their next Caribbean cruise. And lastly, as social media clamps down harder on free speech, a spokesperson for President Trump has just announced that within the next 2 to 3 months, he will be launching his own social media platform. Let's go through these stories together. This is your daily Facts Matter update, and I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Now let's start today's discussion by talking about the U.S. southern border. Yesterday, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, he came out and he announced that the U.S.-Mexico border is now closed. Although he also mentioned that unaccompanied minors who unlawfully cross into the United States will not be turned back. Here's what he told NBC News. We are expelling families. We are expelling single adults. And we've made a decision that we will not expel young, vulnerable children. I think we are executing on our plans. Now, when he was asked about whether the policies of the current administration, the Biden administration, actually encourages parents, both in Mexico as well as other countries, to send their children alone to the border, here's what he said. We have a short-term plan, a medium-term plan, and a long-term plan, and the President and I have spoken to this repeatedly. Please remember something, that President Trump dismantled the orderly, humane, and efficient way of allowing children to make their claims under United States law in their home countries. Now, although he blamed President Trump for what is happening right now, notably, during that interview, he did not elaborate further on what he actually meant, which is a shame, because it would have given the public a clearer understanding into why Trump's policies were rescinded. Many experts that we here at the Epoch Times have interviewed have said that the Trump administration's program, known as the Migrant Protection Protocol, was one of the most effective measures to deter illegal border crossings as well as meritless asylum claims. And furthermore, the decision to not expel unaccompanied minors is not a new one. It's not a novel decision by this current administration. In fact, under an anti-trafficking law, unaccompanied minors from Central America and other non-contiguous countries have not been turned back to Mexico for decades. And so where do these children exactly go then? Well, during an interview with CNN, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, he said that we established 3 new facilities last week. We are working on the system from beginning to end. We are working around the clock 24/7. Now, 3 new facilities sounds like a lot, but in terms of what those facilities actually look like, what do the conditions inside of them actually look like, we had no idea. Why? Well, over the last several weeks, members of the press have been raising red flags about how the Biden administration is handling their press access. In fact, over the weekend, one photographer that works for Getty Images, a man by the name of John Moore, he said that the press has been provided zero access to the border, and that photographers have been forced to actually shoot photos from the Mexican side of the U.S. border. Here's what he said. I respectfully ask U.S. Customs and Border Protection to stop blocking media access to their border operations. I have photographed Customs and Border Protection under Bush, Obama, and Trump, but now zero access is granted to media. And at the same time, there have been reports that Border Patrol officials have been muzzled by the Department of Homeland Security officials about the situation over at the border, something that this veteran photographer calls unprecedented. There is no modern precedent for a full physical ban on media access to Customs and Border Patrol's border operations. To those who might say, cut them some slack, they are dealing with a situation, I'd say that showing the U.S. response to the current immigrant surge is exactly the media's role. However, we have now gotten a glimpse into what these migrant facilities actually look like. That's because this morning, Project Veritas released leaked images from inside of these migrant facilities. Take a look.
I'm on the ground in Donna, Texas. If you want to take a look at this facility right here, to your left, that is the Border Patrol tent facility, stands right behind me. Just a month ago, Customs and Border Patrol agents completed the construction of that facility. It's a 165,000 square foot facility, and we have never seen images inside this facility before. They won't even allow the non-profit lawyers who conduct the actual oversight of these immigration detention centers to go inside. Nobody has seen photos inside of this place until now. Project Veritas has obtained never-before-seen photographs of what it actually looks like inside this facility. Shocking images showing people wrapped up in what looks like metal foil, laying on the ground, their faces covered Why won't the administration be honest about this? Why won't they show you these images? We have a man who's telling us to leave. Where would the press?
Oh man, you gotta get up.
Now, soon after these images were released by Project Veritas, a House member down in Texas released more images from inside of this facility. Take a look. These photos come from an overflow tent facility in Donna, Texas, and they show, as you can see, extremely crowded conditions. Some of the photos show children sleeping on the floors alongside makeshift beds. The House member who released these photos told the media that one of these pods held more than 400 unaccompanied male minors, even though one pod is only supposed to hold a maximum of 260 people. This congressman also said that border agents are doing the best that they can under the circumstances, but are just not equipped to care for kids and need help from the administration. He also said that we have to stop kids and families from making the dangerous trek across Mexico to come to the United States. We have to work with Mexico and Central American countries to have them apply for asylum in their countries. Now, we here at the Epoch Times, we reached out to the White House for comment on these images, but we have yet to hear back. Now, if you would like to see these photos for yourself, or to watch that video from Project Veritas, or to read that full statement from the Secretary from the Department of Homeland Security, all those links will be in the description box below this video for you to check out. And by the way, that is that same little description box that is right below that like button that I hope you take a moment to smash. Because you know that videos that are like this, talking honestly about what is happening at the US southern border or anywhere in this country, are routinely censored, throttled, or just outright removed by big tech platforms like YouTube. However, when you smash that like button that's below this video, you are forcing the YouTube algorithm to share this video out to potentially thousands of more people, letting the truth be known far and wide. And now, before we discuss the pizza shop owner in Michigan who was arrested because she defied the lockdown orders, I'd like to take a quick moment and introduce our sponsor for today's episode, which I will do over from the sound booth. That's right, the sponsor of today's episode is American Hartford Gold, which is a company run by patriots. That's why they sponsor a program like ours. And actually, they're also my personal gold and silver bullion dealer. I just got my recent order from them in the mail. Now, if you are worried about the economic situation in America, with these trillions of dollars in stimulus packages, these trillions amounts of dollars that the Fed has pumped into our economy by buying up all these assets, or our national debt ballooning to what it has and seemingly no one talking about it, well, so am I. And by the way, I don't give you any financial advice, but I'll tell you what I do. And for the last 4.5 years, I've been buying up physical gold and silver every single month. Just every single month, I allocate a portion of my salary to buying physical gold, like this gold 1 ounce coin, or this silver 10 ounce bar. I don't know if you can see it, it's quite beautiful. That's what I do. I buy it, and I believe it's probably one of the best hedges against inflation that you can get. It had value 5,000 years ago, it has value today, and it'll have value, in my opinion, well into the future. Now, American Hartford Gold is a great company. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They have just super friendly customer service staff, so when you call them, they'll answer all your questions, they'll help you out, and also their waiting music is actually a speech from Ronald Reagan, which is very cool, I think. And they have some of the best rates out there in the market in terms of gold and silver. So if you want to check them out, the link will be in the description box below this video. And actually, right now, they're offering a special where, depending on how much you buy, they'll actually throw in $1,500 of free silver into your order. So that's great. So you can either click on the link in the description box below, or you can call 866-242-2352, or you can text Roman to 65532. American Hartford Gold, thank you so much for sponsoring our episode. And now, Roman in the studio, back to you. And now let's head on over to Michigan. According to the state attorney general, 3 days ago, the owner of a pizzeria was arrested because she defied the state's lockdown restrictions and ignored a court order. According to state officials, what happened was that Miss Marlena, who is the owner of Marlena's Bistro and Pizzeria, she kept her restaurant open for indoor dining when it was banned in the state. She did not comply with the capacity limits, and she did not enforce any mask-wearing rules amidst the pandemic. And because of that, her food license was suspended. However, she decided to remain open. And because of that, 3 days ago, she was taken into custody. Now, why did she decide to stay open and not follow the state's restrictions? Well, according to her, she wanted to stand up against authoritarianism and to safeguard individual liberty as well as freedoms. She said that this stems from who she is and where she came from. She is a woman who fled communism over in Poland, and she came to America in order to realize her American dream. During an interview with Glenn Beck, she said that she initially followed the order and closed her restaurant down for 3 months. However, she decided to reopen after she felt that the Michigan governor had overextended her power. This restaurant owner felt that these orders resembled edicts from authoritarian governments, which she was familiar with, and she said this: "So I decided we, the small business owners, have to take control against this tyranny. Because we, the people, have to have jobs to be able to survive. Government and government entities have job security because they are a service. But we, the people, have to fight for our existence and keep working. So I decided they are not going to close me down." Now, her food license is still currently suspended, and prior to being arrested, a warrant for her arrest was issued. Here's how the Michigan Attorney General justified the state's actions. "This owner has continued to willfully violate the state's food laws, public health orders, and the order of the court. A dangerous act that may have exposed dozens of diners and employees to the virus following the discovery that one of Marlena's customers tested positive for the virus within 2 days of eating there." However, despite the stance of the state, this pizzeria owner has received a wave of support from her community. A crowdfunding effort has raised more than $150,000 to cover her legal fees, and there was a road rally that was organized yesterday in support of her in her hometown. Now, according to online arrest records, at this very moment, Marlena remains in the county jail where she has been denied bail until she agrees to follow the judge's orders. Now, if you'd like to read more about her story, that link will be in the description box below this video for you to check out. And now let's talk a bit about vaccinations. One idea that's been floated around recently by both countries as well as businesses is having what are known as vaccine passports. However, critics say that any such proposal would be a violation of Americans' civil liberties. In fact, 3 days ago, the governor of Florida, he came out and called these potential passports, these vaccine passports, a terrible idea, saying that the vaccine passport is a terrible idea. We are definitely not going to require anything from the state's perspective. That is totally off the table. If I have businesses that want to do that in Florida, I think that that's more than just a private decision. Now, in terms of private businesses, he then continued to say, "Look, if you want to go to a movie theater or a concert, all of this stuff, go. If you don't, don't. But to require somebody to show some type of proof of vaccination, I think is completely unacceptable. And it's not something that we're going to support here in any way in Florida." On the other hand, earlier this month, a mouthpiece for the Chinese Communist Party, the Global Times, which is a state-run newspaper, they suggested that the Chinese regime should build an international vaccine passport system. Here's what the Global Times wrote. Chinese experts noted on Tuesday that China can help by sharing its experience with and provide technical support to the WHO to organize the issue, as China is the most experienced country in using a health code system in the world, while the WHO is the most proper organizer for the matter to ensure independence, fairness, and data security. Nothing like the Chinese Communist Party to brag about being the best in the world at tracking the minute details of their citizens' lives and suggesting that the rest of the world can learn a thing or two from them. It's quite a world we live in. Now, here I'd like to note that earlier this month, China, in fact, already launched their own vaccine passport, at least for Chinese nationals who are traveling internationally. And the way that the Chinese passport currently works is that it's a digital certificate which can be accessed on the phone, and it shows a user's vaccination status as well as their virus test results. Now, besides the civil liberties aspect of it, one other reason that this system would likely not get picked up, at least here in America, is the sheer number of people who are averse to taking the vaccine. In fact, a recent poll that was conducted earlier this month alongside Harvard University found that 41% of American respondents said that they are not willing to receive the shot. And here's an interesting stat from the director of that poll. The single most concerning number in this month's poll is that 4 in 10 of those who have not been vaccinated do not want to take the vaccine. This includes 60% of black voters. However, this is not stopping private companies from encouraging their customers into taking the shot. For instance, it was just reported yesterday that passengers who travel on Royal Caribbean International, as well as their subsidiary, Celebrity Cruises, will have to be vaccinated, starting in June when they restart their operations. The company said in a statement that the new itineraries, meaning their Caribbean cruises, departing through August, which will sail with vaccinated crew, will be available to adult guests who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, besides private companies like Royal Caribbean, it's also been reported that the military is now using coercive measures to get people vaccinated. And for your reference, by the way, at the moment, the virus vaccine is currently labeled under the emergency use authorization by the FDA, meaning that it is voluntary. Soldiers cannot be mandated to take it. And so some bases are getting creative in order to get people vaccinated. As an example, over at the Atlas Air Force Base in Oklahoma, Colonel Matthew Leard recently signed a memo titled 97 AMW policies and directives regarding coronavirus disease, or COVID-19. That memo, which applies to all personnel on base, has two very different lists of restrictions for those who are vaccinated and those who are not. For instance, people who have not yet been vaccinated have restrictions on leave and travel, access to off-base events and establishments including restaurants and bars, and they have restrictions on access to gathering places at the base, such as chapels and theaters, with them being required to wear masks, test for COVID, and participate in contact tracing. Now, whether this seems reasonable or not, it does seem to be creating something like what the civil liberties proponents are suggesting, two separate classes of citizens. As to what the future of this will hold, only time will tell. Now, if you'd like to read about the Florida governor's statement, about the Royal Caribbean Cruises' new guidelines, or about the new restrictions being imposed by the military, those links will be in the description box below this video for you to check out. And now let's talk a bit about social media. In particular, it looks like President Trump will be, within the next 2 or 3 months, launching his own social media platform, and he will return to posting online on that platform. This was, by the way, disclosed during an interview with Jason Miller, who is an advisor and spokesperson for President Trump. During an interview with Fox News yesterday, here's what Miller said. He expects Trump will return to social media in 2 or 3 months with his own platform that will completely redefine the game and attract tens of millions of users. Now, during that interview, Mr. Miller did not elaborate further, nor did he offer a possible name for this new social media venture. Now, if you've been paying attention, you probably already have noticed that since Twitter suspended his account, President Trump has instead been using press release statements via his advisors or emails to get his message out to the public. And for the most part, thus far, President Trump has released statements endorsing political candidates for the 2022 midterm elections. In fact, during that interview, Mr. Miller told Fox that President Trump still has considerable sway over the Republican Party and that he's already had over 20 senators, over 50 members of Congress call or make pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago. Pay attention to Georgia on Monday, as there is a big endorsement coming. And since today is now Monday, we do now know what that endorsement is. A House representative from Georgia, Mr. Jody Hice, has just announced that he will be running for Secretary of State in Georgia. Now, Mr. Hice has been a member of Congress for the past 6 years, and before that, he was a pastor. And he will be going up against the current Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, who, if you remember, President Trump clashed with considerably during the post-election turmoil. Now, Mr. Hice made this statement as he announced his candidacy. If elected, my top priority will be ensuring every Georgian's legally cast ballot is counted in future elections. And along that line, Mr. Hice has now secured an endorsement from President Trump. In a statement that was issued through the Save America PAC, which is his PAC, President Trump said this. Jody has been a steadfast fighter for conservative Georgia values and is a staunch ally of the America First agenda. Unlike the current Georgia Secretary of State, Jody leads out front with integrity. I have 100% confidence in Jody to fight for free, fair, and secure elections in Georgia in line with our beloved U.S. Constitution. And this will not be the only position in Georgia that President Trump will fight to change. In fact, he also said that he will campaign against the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp. I'll be here in a year and a half campaigning against your governor and your crazy Secretary of State. Now, we here at the Epoch Times, we reached out to the office of the Georgia Secretary of State for comment, but we have yet to hear back. Now, if you would like to read more about this new social media platform that's in the works, or about this new endorsement in Georgia by President Trump, those links will be in the description box below this video for you to check out. And now lastly, I would like to mention a quick fact about the state of our media. More and more people are waking up to the fact that the legacy media outlets in this country seem to be pushing an established narrative. For instance, there was a great example the other day when Joe Biden was walking up the steps and he tripped 3 times. Now, in and of itself, that's not much of a story. It was an accident. Likely, the official account was that it was very windy up there. But note, when something very similar happened a few years ago to President Trump, when he tripped on the stairs or when he was going down the stairs very slowly, so many articles were published, so many minutes of TV airtime were devoted to questioning his health, using that incident on the staircase to question President Trump's health. However, with Joe Biden, it seems like the establishment narrative is just to accept the official account that it was windy and to move along. Likewise, with these new photos being released of the migrant facility down in Texas, if you remember a few years ago, there was a big firestorm on the media as well as social media about migrant facilities where children were being kept in cages. But what has happened now? It seems like the press has just been kicked out of the border and kids, from at least the photos that we've seen, are being kept in what appears to be cages. And yet the media has, for the last several months, not reported on it honestly. But you know what we here at the Epoch Times are trying to do. We report the facts without pushing any established narratives. And yet, a few months ago, in fact, on the very same day that Joe Biden was sworn into office, YouTube made the unilateral decision to kick us off their monetization platform. We can now no longer run any ads before, during, or after our episodes of Facts Matter, and the Super Chat feature has just been disabled. They are essentially trying to snuff out our independent reporting. However, I will throw a link into the description box below this video to a page where you can subscribe to the Epoch Times. By subscribing, not only will you be supporting independent media, but you will also get unfettered access to all of our uncensored reporting, our deep investigations, including, by the way, we have reporters on the ground right now in Texas, and a lot more will be coming out from them. Also, our video documentaries, our opinion pieces, which are phenomenal, as well as our infographics, which explain complex issues in an easy-to-read format. Again, that link will be in the description box below. I hope you go there. It doesn't cost much, just a few dollars every month, but by subscribing, you will be supporting independent journalism, you will be supporting the Epoch Times, and you will have access to uncensored news. Now, if you haven't already, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to this YouTube channel in order to get uncensored reporting delivered directly into your YouTube feed while you still can. And until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed and stay free.